In a celebratory locker room last week, you heard the saying like a dog in the streets by J.J. McCarthy. Well, the dog catcher was out today. We'll talk about it on the UP.
I don't know who I am. Can I say?
Powered by Riverside FM.
The Minnesota Vikings lose to the Baltimore Ravens 27-19 in front of a raucous U.S. Bank Stadium crowd. As always, the Vikings couldn't seem to get it done at home. Started off fast, looked like they were going to be an efficient team for the rest of the game, but that turned out to be not the case. And again, this false narrative that we have such a home field advantage. As great as the crowd always is at U.S. Bank Stadium, it seems like the Minnesota Vikings players just couldn't feed off of that electricity that was in the building. And again, we let one slip away that we could have won, which is very, very unfortunate. We just could not make enough plays. I'm not going to get too upset and angry about this one because I just feel like to do it would be to just beat my head against the wall, and I'm not going to do that. But I'll tell you this, man. If we don't make a change in terms of Kevin O'Connell getting away from the play calling and what he wants to do, this organization is never going to go anywhere. The offense is never going to be at its ceiling or what it could be. I don't care who the quarterback is, man. I don't care whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Pat Mahomes. We have enough weapons on this offense where we shouldn't look like that. All of the false starts, that is a direct reflection on the head coach. There was a comment during the game that it's not like you can change people out personnel-wise. If that is the case, then what do? Just allow guys to keep false starting. You always hear Kevin O'Connell talk about the self-inflicted. I guarantee you, I'm recording this right after the game. I guarantee you're going to hear in KOC's press conference about the self-inflicted. He likes all of these terms. You're going to hear him talk about, the three phases. You're going to hear him talk about the self-inflicteds week after week after week after week after week after week after week, and nothing seems to change. If you can't go in the locker room or if you can't replace guys and pull guys out, and I know maybe some of the second string guys are not as good as the first string guy. You got your franchise quarterback in there. You don't want him to get hurt. Well, if that's the case, we are held hostage to guys that can't focus. And so you just have to continuously play the guys who are the first string guys, and you send a message to them and you create an environment that our second string guys are so bad that no matter what you do, how many times you false start, how many times you make mistakes when it's a crucial time in the game, no matter how many times we have these self-inflicted that you're going to stay in the ball game. So there is no fear. There is no sense of urgency. There is nothing that is directing these players to create a lack of focus if you are held hostage because you cannot pull them out. Again, ever since J.J. McCarthy has come back and we've got our offensive line together, Jordan Mason has disappeared, not because of a lack of production in terms of Jordan Mason, but we just don't look to go to him anymore. How many carries did Jordan Mason have today? 4 carries for 25 yards. His longest was 13. We just don't look at the running game as something that's going to be an integral part of what the Minnesota Vikings do. If you take J.J. McCarthy's rushes out of there, J.J. had 5 rushes for 48 yards. He was our leading rusher today. You had 13 carries total for Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Again, we spend all this money on our offensive line. We talk about the trenches. And again, it's just a false narrative. I'm going to stop looking for it because the running game is never going to be prevalent in our offense as long as KOC is calling the plays. And you can say, well, we got behind early. Like, we are not stopping running the ball because we get behind. Like, that is totally understandable. It is at the beginning of the game, no matter what the production is that Aaron Jones gives you running the ball or Jordan Mason gives you running the ball, no matter how successful we are, at some point during the game, we are going to go away from it. KOC is not doing J.J. McCarthy any favors, man. I am, I've always been on this side of the fence, and credit to my guy Purple Soda and Norris, man, I'm starting to come to the side of the ball that you guys have been preaching and been putting in the comments. Like, I just don't know if this thing is ever going to change under KOC. I don't see a scenario where he is ever going to give up the play calling. Oh, again, I don't know if we can ever reach our ceiling with KOC as our primary play, play caller, man. I mean, just some of the stuff that doesn't make sense. Again, we have a 3rd and short situation, the one interception that JJ McCarthy threw, 3rd and less than a yard, 3rd and less than a yard. And I knew that we were going to drop back to pass, play action pass, deep throw down the field, gets the ball intercepted. This is like the 3rd time this has happened in that exact situation where KOC chooses to throw the ball instead of running the ball. You know, there was a comment during the game that the Minnesota Vikings are one of the worst teams in the league in terms of short yardage situations. Well, the one thing that he didn't mention, and again, you can decompartmentalize this all you want, but the one thing that he didn't mention was we throw the ball on 3rd and 1 more than any team in the league, which is egregious. When you look at the other side of the ball and you saw the Ravens in those situations, what did the Ravens do? Pound the rock. And I know we're not going to sit here and judge athleticism when it comes to Lamar Jackson and JJ McCarthy because they use Lamar Jackson in the option a lot. They ran Derrick Henry a lot, but the philosophy was still there, UP Nation. I mean, 3rd and 1, 3rd and short, they ran the ball up the gut. And even if they didn't get it on 3rd down, you could probably be confident that the Baltimore Ravens probably were going to go on 4th down in some of these situations. Again, a scenario where the Minnesota Vikings under Kevin O'Connell, they're just last in terms of going for it. But again, short yardage situations, spend a lot of money on the offensive line, chooses not to run. It just boggles the mind, UP Nation. Purple Gang Skull Nation, help me out, man. Put it in the comments. It boggles the mind how you could spend money on bringing Aaron Jones back. You spend money on Jordan Mason. You spend money on an offensive line. And continuously in these situations, 3rd and 1s, you don't run the football. It is absolutely mind-blowing to me, man. And I acquiesce to football coaches because I'm just a basketball coach, man. But I think I understand percentages and I think I understand probability, and everybody talks about the analytics. Like for me, I just don't understand what goes through KOC's mind in those situations. Everything that he draws up for JJ McCarthy is drop back and throw. I mean, there's no creativity. There is no scheme behind it. There is no, again, we preach and we want the short game. We saw flashes, but you have to know where we are right now, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation, is that if we have to drive the ball 80 yards, we are going to need some help. Meaning there's got to be a defensive pass interference in there. There's got to be something where we get lucky when we have to drive the field, or something that's fortunate enough to happen that maybe the other team picks up a penalty or something like that. It is the only way we can sustain drives and get the ball down the field. We were very lucky a couple times today where the defense for the Ravens got a penalty. And so we picked up maybe a pass interference where we got the ball down the field, or the drive would have ended. We have not been the type of team that really can consistently, without a big play or a bomb or some sort of breakdown for the defense, where we can drive the ball down the field. We are just not that team. Like, I am not confident in any respect that that will ever happen without barring some sort of breakdown, big play, or some sort of mistake by the defense in terms of a penalty that helps us get downfield. Now, we can score if the Minnesota Vikings defense creates a short field on us, then all bets are off. We can maybe get the ball into the end zone, man. But in terms of us starting at about our 20 to 25 yard line, 30-yard line, and having to drive 70 yards, it's just non-existent. You're going to get a lot of penalties. You're going to get false starts. You're going to get holding. You're going to get egregious play calling. You're going to get a lack of a running game from the Minnesota Vikings. There is no balance there. And KOC is going to continuously put JJ McCarthy in situations where everything is vertical and he's got to hold the ball, take these long step and drops, not getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's going to continuously put J.J. McCarthy in peril, and UP Nation, Skull Nation, Purple Gang, it's not going to change. I am tired of beating the table when it comes to KOC and being a defender of KOC. His play calling, he is, and people lump in his play calling. And for me, like, I don't think he is the worst play caller in the league. He's definitely not the best play caller in the league. Where I think he's the worst is I think he is the worst situational play caller in the league. Situations like the 3rd and 1s that I was talking about. Remember, right before halftime, we got the ball left with about a minute 11 seconds left. You just knew that there was nothing that was going to happen where KOC was going to help J.J. McCarthy get the ball down the field. We have an absence of a screen game, so we don't run those things a lot. Everything is drop back, vertical. Like, there is just no philosophy behind what KOC does in those situations. You saw it again at the end of the game today. There was really no hurry up. There was no tempo. Guys walking around. When J.J. McCarthy ran out of our deep territory, ran for about 30 yards, like, I thought the Minnesota Vikings should have ran up to the line of scrimmage and clocked the ball and just played a second down. You're in a situation where you're going to go for it on 4th down anyway, but it behooves you to stop the clock. Now you can get the right play call in to J.J. McCarthy instead of having him rush guys up, a rookie quarterback, mind you, rush up to the line of scrimmage and be able to call a play. Like, it's paramount that you should have gotten that clock stopped. But again, these are situations, man. You saw the guys walking around. You even saw them go into huddles at time where the clock was your enemy, and you needed as much time as you possibly could, especially with the guy who is a rookie at the quarterback position. So KOC is not doing J.J. McCarthy any favors, man. I thought it was a game of missed opportunities. I thought it was a game that the Minnesota Vikings should have won. And again, I have been really, really consistent with this. I thought the Eagles game and the Chargers game, like, I called a spade, man. B-Flow, since he's been here, in terms of what he's done, his body of work, I thought those 2 games, the Chargers games and the Eagles games, the defense didn't look good. It was probably 2 of the worst games under B-Flow that I had seen in the last 3 years, man. But anybody out there that talks about B-Flow should go, his defense is being figured out and stuff like that, y'all can miss me with that. The law of averages say in the NFL, the way the rules are, you're going to have games where your defense gives up points and your defense gives up yards. Again, you have to look at the personnel and what B-Flow is dealing with. I thought B-Flow put this team, again, in a position where if we had a little bit more offensive consistency, being able to sustain some drives, I thought B-Flow put our team in a position where we could have won the game. The defense played good enough. You can call it bend but don't break. Whatever you want to call the defense, they played good enough where if we had any sort of offensive pulse, any sort of scheme, that it was a game that we could have took advantage of. We got to 10 points, and we were stuck on 10 points for the majority of the game. And this is the way this offense has been, man. This hasn't been a J.J. McCarthy problem. You know, this has been J.J. McCarthy. This has been Kirk Cousins. This has been Sam Darnold. This is the way the offense has been for like the last few years under KOC, where there are times where we just get stalled and the play calling is not the best, and the situational play calling just isn't there, man. So another disappointing game. I don't know what to expect next week, but just in terms of philosophy-wise and how we call games and how we scheme games, not going to change. I don't expect it to change. KOC is going to be the play caller for the rest of the year. My guess is he's going to be play caller next year and future years, man. This thing is never going to change. He just doesn't understand situations. I think that he is very, very green in that department. Again, keep in mind, he never called plays for the Rams. So essentially, this is like his 4th year, but he just doesn't seem to go back to the drawing board and reflect on these situations and get better at them. So again, we saw it today. Time management wasn't the best. Questionable play calling. It's going to be the same thing next week. There are some weeks we can pull these things out, and then there are some weeks where we're not going to be able to pull them out. But it all starts with being able to help J.J. McCarthy scheme some things, and be able to have a more consistent offense. Did J.J. McCarthy make some mistakes? Absolutely. Had some really, really egregious throws, but this is what you're going to get from a rookie quarterback, and it is up to the head coach to be able to scheme and help him out in situations so he can get into a rhythm and make throws that he is comfortable making. Again, another just opportunity squandered. The Minnesota Vikings lose to the Baltimore Ravens 27-19. I don't know what to even say anymore. I'm just not optimistic that anything is going to change. I think it's going to look different from week to week. I think our success rate on certain things are going to look different from week to week, but that underlying consistency of failing in situations, the self-inflicted, the false starts to holding, those things are just going to be there, man. The self-inflicted penalties, I'm just not confident that things are going to change, man. If you can't change your personnel and you can't get on people to where they can focus for these games, then we are going to be victim to that for the rest of the season, and it's unfortunate. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and as always, UP Nation, man, we'll see you when we see you. Another loss. Baltimore Ravens beat our Minnesota Vikings. Let's go.